We thank you very, very much for coming in this inclement weather. And we're going to start off by saluting flag. The flag is on your left and my right. Oh, yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. For the folks who have not been here before, we, the Lions, have hosted this between 15 and 20 years. And we've had wonderful turnouts over the years. We've had a very good turnout for the candidates, and we appreciate the candidates for coming. I'd like to tell you that Lion Marie Boyle, who most of you, in fact, almost all of you probably know, moderated this program for many, many, many years. In fact, she was almost the founder of it. So I'd like to have you bow your heads just for a couple of seconds in her honor. Thank you. Lion Marie was very active in our club. She did many, many things in addition to this. Plus, as you know, she traveled around the community and she was actually a fixture in the town. We appreciate it so much. And she is almost indispensable, but Hank is hanging in there for her. Tonight, our moderator will be Lion Fred Plett, over here on my left, and he will explain the procedure that we go through. It's not very difficult, and if you could kindly follow it as close as you can, we'd appreciate it. And of course, after the presentations by each one of you, there'll be a chance for the public to ask questions. Anybody, just tell us who it is, so we'll know who it is. Lion Don Domenico just got our food over here. The food is ready for anybody who wants to have something to eat, just a snack, anything right there. We're not a rich club, but we have food. We're known for food. But I'd like to introduce now Lion Fred Plett, past president, and he will give you all the good stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You never said who you were, Larry. So it's Larry Emmington is the current president. He's been president before. He's been a fixture in town forever. Served in several different capacities. So thank you, Larry. And because we lost Marie, and unfortunately you got me now, and some of you may not know me, most of you do. I've run town meeting a couple of times, town ballot determination hearing. Did this last year because Rod Stark found someplace better to be, but I understand he's back in town. You have all heard political jokes, of course, and I've got a minor one now about politicians being good at geometry because they talk in circles and know all the angles. But I will tell you that people volunteering to run for town and school positions that pay little to nothing, they're doing it for their civic mindedness, and I congratulate them all. Winners or losers, thank you for stepping forward to offer your services, and if you are not successful, try again in the future. You never know. So we really appreciate that. You've all got the program, hopefully, and we've got some others floating around. Gordon had them. If anybody doesn't have one, we can give you one. We don't have a mic for the room, so I ask people to speak up. And if somebody can't hear, raise your hand so we know that you can't hear. And it'll be a cue for me to say, speak up. Some people are rather soft-spoken. I don't suffer from that at all. But some people are soft-spoken. There are mics for GTV, so they're all set. So everything you say will be recorded. Some of the physical things, there's bathrooms through the door here, and hopefully it's unlocked so you can get back in. It is? Okay. So bathrooms are there. Emergency exits are marked everywhere. So out that way for an emergency. With that, we'll get going. I'm going to go through the school candidates, mix things up first. Then I'll go through the town candidates, and it was suggested to me that I pick on the contested races first. And Richard Meany suggested that, despite the fact it was from him. I think it's a good idea. So we'll do that. We're starting with the school candidates. I've got who I think is here, but even though I don't have a check mark, I'm going to ask anyway, just in case somebody didn't get the RSVP, wouldn't want to turn them over, go by them without giving them a chance to speak. We have 3 minutes apiece, and Richard Meany's my timekeeper here, and he's Guido. He sends out a crew. If you go longer than 3 minutes, he's going to give me a hand signal about 2.5 minutes, and so I'll be walking up to you. And if I'm walking up to you, pushing you out of the way, you know it's time. So with that, that's it. We'll go through each candidate, and then there'll be question and answer period at the end. Starting with the school board on the back page, and I've got this in alphabetical order. Rita Chafee, are you here?
Yes.
And if I abuse a name, correct me.
Retta.
Chaffee, please.
I thought I was going last. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I really appreciate this opportunity to let you know a little bit about me, if you don't already know me. My name is Retta Chaffee, and I'm running for the school board. I have been a resident of Goffstown since the early 60s, starting with Mary Lou Preschool and up through the public school system. I'm a graduate of Goffstown High School. I did move away, went to college, and lived around the country, around the world. And I recently came back in 2002, and I live in Goffstown with my husband and my 2 elementary school children, an exchange student from Kyrgyzstan, and I won't bore you with the list of animals that also live in my house. I just wanted to first start off with why I'm running. Prior to moving back to New Hampshire, Goffstown specifically, I've been very, very involved in my community where I lived in Vermont. I was a member of several boards, the Chamber of Commerce, Parks Place, and Rockingham Arts and Museum project. That was a really important part of my life. After coming back to Goffstown, I've been on a bit of a hiatus, raising my children, getting accustomed to being in my hometown, getting to know the community, but now the time is right for me. I'm ready to give back to the community and be involved in the committees within the town. And I fully understand the commitment that's involved, especially with the school board. I've talked with a number of people, and with the support of my family, I'm putting my name forward to serve on this committee. I'm really enthusiastic about education. I've been involved in education on a number of levels, and I look forward to being able to contribute to the school board. I believe that I have a lot of skills and experience that will complement the skills of the other members of the school board. So those are some of the reasons why I'm running, and I want to let you know a little bit about my background so you know what it is that I am bringing to the table. I'm currently the Director of Educational Technology at Granite State College, where I've been doing that job for the last 13, going on 14 years. So Granite State College, if you're not familiar, is one of the 4 university system colleges. When I first started, we had 3 online courses, and now, after nearly 13 years, we have over 175, going on 200 courses a term. And I really understand what it takes, the support and the training that it takes to launch initiatives such as that. Prior to Granite State College, I worked at the Microbusiness Development Program in Vermont, where I counseled individuals that are looking to start their business. So I understand what it takes to run a business. Am I running out of time? Okay, so I'll speed it up. I was previously a high school Spanish teacher. I have a background, degrees in international development and strategic management, 30 years of experience in the education system from preschool up to higher education. And I bring a lot of great skills from that experience. And I would be honored to represent the communities of Goffstown, Grassmere, and Pinardville, and I hope they move forward.
Muchas gracias.
De nada.
I have to ask, is Laurie Cloutier here? We did not get an RSVP. I wouldn't want to. Is she here? Okay. Moving on, Ben Hampton, you're here.
Yes, I are. Good evening. I'm glad to be here in this inclement weather, and a little bit about myself. I attended the University of Miami, Coral Gables, Florida. I received a BA in history. I was an industrial engineer in Peru, South America for 2 years after graduation. I was a retail department store manager for more than 7 years. In 1973, I moved to Keene, New Hampshire, and obtained a Master's of Education degree from Keene State. I have 90 hours beyond the master's degree. I retired from public school education in 2003 with over 25 years in various school systems in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Maine. I've held the position of a teacher, elementary school principal, business administrator, and acting superintendent of schools. For the past 13 years, I've taught for the Manchester Community College in Manchester, Great Bay Community College in Portsmouth, and Franklin Pierce University in Concord. Currently, I am teaching 3 online courses and 2 face-to-face classes. The courses I have taught are education, critical thinking, government, history courses. My specialty is the Civil War, and I've developed a topics in history course about this. I've also authored an article, Distance Education, Is It for Everyone?, in the Pedagogy Journal of 2007 for the New Hampshire Community College system. I hope to write a book on the Civil War when and if I retire. While at Franklin Pierce, I have taught at the graduate and undergraduate level, teaching subjects of management, education, critical thinking, government, and history. I also have supervised student teachers. I've lived in Goffstown since 1990. I was a business administrator for the Goffstown School Department from 1990 to 1993. Spent 3 years on the Goffstown Budget Committee. I was chair for 1 year. And I've served on the Goffstown Ethics Committee developing a policy for the town. I belong to the following organizations. I am the president of the Condo Association of Morgan Estates, where I've lived for over 20 years. A member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, New Hampshire Society Sons of the American Revolution. I am their past president. I also preside as an MC over at their New Hampshire Contingent Color Guard for living history presentations. I'm also a member of the General John Stark Byway Council. My wife Jane and I enjoy traveling around the country to historical sites, especially Civil War battlefields and Revolutionary War battlefields. We also enjoy sharing our love of colonial life with history with students of all ages from around New England, and we've been as far south as Gate City, Virginia, doing a living history presentation. Why am I running? I've lived here for over 20 years, and as a professor of government and history, I tell my students, in order to make a change in government, one must get involved, and that's what I'm doing. I see the following items facing the Goffstown School District as some of the biggest challenges. What to do if Dunbarton does not renew the area agreement, and I want to assure transparency in all the dealings with the school committee so that no one can say favoritism was part of any decision. Basically, that is why I am running to add a new face and a new look at this, and I appreciate your vote in March. Thank you. Thank you, Larry.
My one question is, were you around during the Civil War?
Of course I was.
Okay.
Of course I was. I was at Gettysburg.
Okay. And Diane McCarthy, I know you're here. And sorry you didn't get the invitation. I'm glad it all worked out.
Thank you. And thank you, too, to the Lions for hosting this event. As I said, my name is Diane McCarthy, and I am running for re-election to my second term on the school board. I've been a lifelong resident of Goffstown. I grew up here. I attended Goffstown schools. And now I have 2 children who are in the Goffstown school system. And that's really how I came to be on this path. I'm very involved as a volunteer in our schools with my children. And in so doing, I was able to develop a first-hand knowledge of our school system And I also found out that I have a very strong passion for education. It seems to be what I do. I'm always looking for new information, trying to learn something else. What are they doing over here? Does it work? Does it not? I just realized that with that level of interest, serving on the school board was a good way for me to positively serve my community. There is no question I definitely bring a lot of dedication to my work on the board. I am currently the vice chair. I also serve on the SAU executive board. I am chair of the Planning and Communications Committee, and this year I was also the Budget Committee representative. I have also served on the Elementary Facility Review Committee, as well as Administration and Finance. It's a lot of meetings and a lot of hours, and I can honestly say to you that everything I have done in my work on this board has been with the intention to learn as much as I can and to do the best job that I possibly can do. I do think that I have learned a lot, and this has given me a good foundation and a firm understanding of the history and the business that is coming before the board. On a personal note, I believe in being part of the solution. I also believe in striving for excellence, and I do bring these two guiding principles to my work on the board. I think that one of the biggest challenges that we face on the board is striking a balance between providing the services and keeping the infrastructure strong that creates a healthy and vibrant community, but also keeping the costs down that likewise cause a healthy and vibrant community. This has been on the forefront of my mind over the past 3 years, and it will continue to be so going forward. We also have a great deal of weighty work coming up for us this year, not the least of which are contract negotiations with both our support staff and our teachers union. This is important work, and the people that you elect to do this work will make a difference. I would like to be one of those people doing that work, and I appreciate your support. I thank you for this opportunity to serve, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. I'm going to finish off the school side because I'm not smart enough to come back to it if I would have skipped over Joanne Duffy. So Joanne, why don't you come ahead? Running for school district clerk.
Thank you, Fred. Hi, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joanne Duffy. I've been a resident of Goffstown for almost 29 years now, which is more than I've been a resident of my home state of New Jersey. So it's like, wow, I'm really here, aren't I? I am the mother of 2 grown daughters, Jessica, who's 28, and Andrea, who's 25. They've both gone through the Goffstown school system, starting in 1st grade, working their way up through 12th. I also have a granddaughter, Lily, who is 3 and a half, who is also now in the school system. She is at Glen Lake in the preschool program. I've been the school district clerk for the past 16 years, and this past year, with the passing of Marie, they asked me if I would fill in for her, so I was actually appointed to do this term, so now I'm running for election again. Basically, the school district clerk prepares the ballot, sends it off to the printer, makes sure that it gets over to Kathy, the town clerk, who I work closely with, and prepares the minutes for the school deliberative session and some administrative tasks during the actual year. I've pretty much been doing this for a long time now, so it's pretty easy. You have to be very detail-oriented. You can't make a mistake on the ballot. It costs a lot of money to fix after it's been printed, so I've been lucky that I haven't had to send any ballots back after the fact. So I'm just asking for your vote again. I'd like your support and hope you just get out and vote for whoever you vote for. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Now we'll tackle the town side, and as suggested, we'll go through the contested contest first. And the first is Selectman, and I did not get a RSVP from Alan Brown. Are you here, Alan? Seeing not, the next is Nick Campasano.
Good evening.
My name is Nick Campasano, and I'm running for the office of Selectman. Before I begin, I would like to thank the Lions Club for providing the candidates with this opportunity to introduce themselves to the voters. I have called Goffstown my home for a little over 30 years. As a homeowner and a taxpayer, I know the difficulties associated with keeping a house and a home and dealing with what seems to be ever-increasing expenses and taxes of one type or another. My wife, Julianne, and I have been married for 33 years, and we have one son, Nicholas, who is now married and lives outside of Raleigh, North Carolina with his wife, Caitlin. For the last 28 years, I've been employed by the City of Manchester, where I serve as a Deputy Fire Chief. I am responsible for departmental training, communications, safety, and emergency medical services. I also coordinate the city's emergency planning functions. The nature of my job has taught me to be decisive under pressure and has shown me the importance of long-term planning, prioritization, and the setting of timelines. Educationally, I hold a master's degree in organizational management and leadership from Springfield College and a master's degree in international studies and homeland security from the United States Naval Postgraduate School. I was honored to serve as your selectman for 2 terms from March 2006 through March of 2012. As you may know, as a selectman, you get to serve as a representative to various town boards and commissions. During my terms, I served time as a representative to the Budget Committee, Planning Board, CIP Committee, Parks and Recreation Commission, Historic District Commission, Economic Development Council, and Conservation Commission. These experiences provided me with an understanding of the various roles each of these entities play in our town government. One of the things that I've been very passionate about is the openness and transparency of government. I've always believed in the importance of open lines of communication between the residents of our community and their elected officials. As your selectman, I will strive to maintain that communication and transparency and look for ways to improve upon it. Controlling local budget growth is a particular concern to most taxpayers, especially now when local budgets are being squeezed by both decreasing revenues and increasing state downshifting of costs. While I acknowledge that some budget item increases are beyond the control of local officials, I will do whatever possible to assure that the town budget is a responsible balance between services provided and the recognition of the burden it places on taxpayers, particularly in this time of economic uncertainty. On March 12th, I ask for your support and your vote. If elected, I pledge to uphold your trust and work my hardest to serve you, the residents and taxpayers of Goffstown. Thank you.
Thank you. David Pierce. Lion David Pierce.
Thanks for the promotion, Fred. I'm David Pierce, and I do seek re-election as a selectman. I've also served on the Budget Committee. In other community areas, I have leadership roles in the Historic Society, Friends of the Rail Trail, General John Stark Scenic Byway. I'm also a member of the Lions Club, as Fred just said, and I'm a member of the Goffstown Harvest Christian Church. Coming out of UMass as a graduating with a degree in civil engineering, I entered the military. I had a 1-year tour in Vietnam, company commander, and I left the service at the rank of lieutenant colonel. I then had a career with the defense agency that makes maps for all the military services. 20-year career in Washington, D.C. Retiring from that position, I and my wife, Ruth, moved here to New Hampshire. Why do I seek to be a selectman again? Our town, as many of you know, is the 14th largest out of 234 communities here in New Hampshire. And just due to our size alone, we provide a large array of services to the residents. And those services require many careful decisions. I have the skills necessary to make decisions and provide guidance on all aspects of the community government. My professional background, my involvement in community activities, my 3 years as a selectman, and I've been honored this last year to be a chairman of the board, have provided me with those skills. Lastly, I have the desire and the time to do what's best for the town. I'm not hesitant to meet the challenges of the position or the challenges facing the town. One challenge, in my view, is overcoming some of the negativity regarding the capital improvements program. I believe it should be an evenly funded program and address all of the predictably large expenses facing the town. A second one is I've heard from regional land planners, and they have emphasized the growth in transportation networks that's taking place outside of our borders, and that's predictably will have an impact on our community. I would like to embrace some of the opportunities due to that impact and foster some economic development, both residential and commercial. Finally, those two challenges imply a third, and that's recognizing our town has had very competent department leaders. I will continue to recognize their excellent ideas, and so that they can continue to provide the services that we have come to expect. For those reasons, I seek to be reelected as a selectman, and I ask the voters to help me in that endeavor come the 12th of March. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I have to tell you, I'm somewhat jealous of all the degrees I've heard that people have. Well, I got you all beat. I got 98.6 degrees myself.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yes. It depends on the day. Moving on to the next contested race, which is Planning Board. Barbara Griffin, are you here?
Yeah. Thank you, Fred. Thank you to the Lions Club. Before I say a little bit of something about myself, I note that we have jumped over the uncontested races, and I note on my program, I always come up to a podium with something in my hand, whether it means anything or not. I don't know. But it says Budget Committee, 3 years, vote for 4, and there's only 3 people signed up for that. I want to say, number one, I truly feel like I am old because I recognize one of the names as being the children of someone that I knew many, many years ago, and they are apparently now old enough to run for public office. This has thrown me into a little bit of a tizzy tonight. The other thing I wanted to say about that is that I think the Budget Committee is one of the most important committees in town. Having said that, I am running for planning board. And if you are new in town, or you have an interest in learning about how this town operates, or you want to meet the people who are involved in this community, many of which are here in this room tonight, I urge you to get yourself written in for the Budget Committee. It's how I started in elected positions in this community in 1989. And I've been doing something in that regard since 1989. I actually moved here in 1987 for a job. I think it's important now that you know why people are in your community, because you want people on your boards who have a vested interest, I think, in the people who live with them, that they are around, that they are representing. I moved here for a job, and I'm a lawyer. It was my first job up here. I was actually, had worked in the government contracting business and had some clearances out of college based on my undergraduate degree in accounting and finance. I went to law school nights in Boston, and my first law job was in New Hampshire, and I moved to Goffstown because it was the only place I could afford, because Bedford was too expensive for me. And I was only going to be here for a couple of years. Well, that was 1987, and here I am. I was on the Budget Committee, as I said, for 6 years. And after the Budget Committee, I was on the Board of Selectmen for 12 years. Those were positions I enjoyed thoroughly, and with those terms, I've also been a member of the Southern New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission, And today I am the president of the board of the Southern New Hampshire Regional Planning Commission, of which Goffstown is a member of now 13 other communities. Wyndham has just transferred in. I am seeking to be re-elected to the planning board before we find out what Fred is really going to do before somebody runs over their 3 minutes. Because I think that it's important to have somebody who has your interests as a community member at heart in regards to trying to enforce the code that you voted on and treat applicants fairly and in accordance with the law. I think I've helped the board do that over the past few years, and I ask for the opportunity to do it over the next few years. How'd I do?
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Katie said you were a lawyer. I work with lawyers at the Massachusetts Attorney General's office, so a whole bunch of them.
How many degrees they got, Fred?
Pardon?
How many degrees do they have?
I don't know. Tim McKernan didn't respond. Are you here, Tim?
He asked to have this read,
Okay. Is somebody, you doing that for him?
unless you want to. You want to read it?
Yeah, sure. To the Goffstown Lions Club, this is from Tim McKernan, thank you for providing this opportunity for candidates to speak to you, and thank you for allowing me to send along this note. I have class tonight and unable to attend the event. My name is Tim McKernan. I'm running for planning board in Goffstown. I'm running because I want to make sure we make reasoned, careful decisions about how we develop our town. I'm running to preserve the way of life my family has enjoyed in Goffstown since the early 1950s when my grandparents moved here. My grandfather, Alan McKernan, was a World War II Navy veteran and served on the Goffstown School Board. He was an active member of the Lions Club. My grandmother, Phyllis, ran the Bel Air Nursing Home and was a floor supervisor at the Hillsborough County Nursing Home. She still is right here in town. Several members of our family are still members of the community, living in Goffstown and other nearby towns, or teaching in our schools. I'm a Goffstown High School graduate. I commute to the UNH School of Law in Concord and will graduate in 2014. I'm committed to serving Goffstown by protecting the balance between homes, businesses, and the natural resources that make our town beautiful. Please feel free to contact me by email or telephone if you have any questions, if you want to share your priorities for our town. Thank you, and I ask for your vote on Tuesday, March 12th. Sincerely, Tim McKernan. It's another M, C-K-E-R-N-A-N, Tim McKernan at gmail.com, 603-660-0438. Turn that back over to you. Going on, Christopher Nadeau, are you here?
Yep.
Hello everyone. Thank you to the Lions Club for having us tonight. My name is Chris Nadeau. I've been in Goffstown since 2004. I have a Bachelor's of Science degree, since everyone's going over their degrees. Really what I'm doing, I'm just extremely concerned for the town. I love living in Goffstown. I love where we live. I love the small town feel. I love having accesses to all the shopping centers and stuff, but at the same time being able to go hiking right out my back door, go voting, whatever. But the problem is every year this time, every election time, it's the same thing. We need repairs, we need additions, personnel, equipment, but not once have I ever heard of a way to pay for this except we gotta raise taxes. The problem is we just can't keep voting for the services of a small city with no way to pay for it. We have similar services to our neighboring towns like Bedford, Milford, Londonderry. The vast difference, though, is those towns all have a vast commercial infrastructure to help pay for those taxes. Last time I checked, our tax base was 93% or so on the residential homeowners. I mean, this is completely unsustainable, unaffordable. We can't let it continue. If you live in a town that has a tax base like that, over 90%, that's a town like Francistown or something that doesn't have any services to pay for. But if we are going to continue to have these services, we have to find a way to pay for it. I'm not here to debate whether we should or shouldn't have these services. It's just the fact is our budget is too big. We're going to need repairs. We're going to have to keep providing for fire, police, schools. those things are going to need upgrades. I'm sure, I know I lived on a road that didn't get paving for the last 60 years until 2 years ago. I'm sure some of you are in that same boat. Literally had friends that would not drive down to my house because the roads were so bad. These things are going to need to be done. We have to find ways to pay for it, but based on our current tax liability ratio, it's just unsustainable for the homeowner. I live in an average house, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2,000 square feet. My taxes are over $6,300 now. And if over the last couple of years we had voted for all the articles, they'd be well over $7 grand. I mean, I can't be the only one that thinks $6,500, $7,000 for a 3-bedroom house is completely ridiculous. We have to bring in some commercial business into town. Goffstown has very limited land, limited desirable land, so this needs to be well thought out. And I'm not talking about Walmarts or anything. Look behind T-Bones, all the doctor's offices behind there. They bring in excellent paying jobs. There's hardly any traffic whatsoever. This is what we need. I'm convinced that through well planning and with your support, Goffstown can keep its small town charm, yet still bring in a tax base that helps afford these services. Please help me. My name is Chris Nadeau and I'm running for planning board.
Thank you, Chris. Leah Wolczko. All set?
Hi, my name is Leah Wolczko. I was born and raised in Maine, and I graduated first time from Hassan College with a degree, a bachelor's degree in court reporting. I moved to New Hampshire about 24 years ago, and about 12 or 13 years ago now, I came to Goffstown. My daughter graduated from this high school. For 17 years in the state, I worked as a court stenographer, so I had occasion to be assigned to trials numerous times that dealt with planning board decisions. And so through that experience, I became familiar with the law and language that planning boards will have to wrestle with, and I feel confident that I'd be able to navigate the information that I would have to. I did a change of heart after that, and I got my master's degree at UNH in teaching, and I went on to teach at a high school a few towns over for a few years, and in the city before that, and then the middle school for a year before that. Never in Goffstown, though. I became interested in politics a few years ago, and I really do believe that serving at the local level is probably the best thing anyone can do, because it's what you're most familiar with, and it's where you can have the biggest chance to have an effect, to be an agent of change, as they say. Luckily for Goffstown, we have enough people in almost all of these races for all the slots, and we even have some contested races, and I think that's a really healthy thing, that we have enough people willing to step up and serve the community. If elected to the planning board, I plan to say yes. I plan to say yes within the bounds of the law, to the extent possible, to help businesses that would like to come here, to remove impediments where they can be removed, and to help broaden that tax base that Chris just spoke about, because it is getting difficult for my family, for my neighbors, for all of us. So if we could say yes more often and find ways to actually get businesses to relocate here, I think that that is what's necessary for us to be a sustainable community. I also plan to say yes as often as possible to private property owners within the law, to use their property in ways that they determine will increase its value to them, and then therefore would increase the value to all of us. So if you elect me to the planning board, that's what I will do. Listening to you, I definitely want to make myself available to anybody, and my name, lwolczko@gmail. You can email me at any time, and I ask for your vote on March 12th.
Very good. Going on to the zoning board, Vivian Blondo did not reply. Is she here? Okay, moving on. Joseph Femino?
Femino works.
Okay, well, how do you say it?
Well, I don't correct people. It's Femino is the way you'd say it in Italian.
Femino.
But Femino works
Grazie.
in America. Thank you to the Lions Club for providing this platform. My name is Joseph Femino. I've been a resident in its entirety for about 21 years. I did 4 years in Hooksett, New Hampshire. I graduated from Goffstown High School, and I went to Assumption College in Worcester, Mass., where I studied computer science and marketing. After graduation, I moved back home, and for a short time, moved to Hooksett, where I married my high school sweetheart. We've been together for 14 years, married for 7. I currently work at Comcast Cable in Manchester, New Hampshire. I'm a marketing analyst, so I'm sorry for your cable bills.
All right.
So a little bit about my interest. I'm into a little bit of thrill seeking. I do Tough Mudder adventure races, and enjoy racquetball and all the stuff that keeps me feeling young. And that being said, that's why I decided to run for public office. It's very exciting stuff. I am actually running for the zoning board, and it's because I got interested in politics in early 2012, and I could either run for president against Obama, and or I could run for the zoning board. I started small. As I said, I've grown up in Goffstown. I rode my bike around in the streets and in the sidewalks. I really appreciate the atmosphere that's been maintained and preserved here, but I also appreciate that we're allowing ourselves to grow. I think that residents should be able to use their properties the way that they see fit, but I also feel like our job in the zoning board is to preserve our neighborhoods and make sure that there's no infringement on your neighbor's property or the atmosphere that I think we all want to preserve. I ask for your vote on March 12th to bring a new face to the zoning board. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Next is a neighbor, Gail LeBrecq. She's sorry she's a neighbor.
Not at all. I'm just glad you're not that close. I want to thank the Lions Club for hosting this event tonight, and I want to thank each of you for coming out. And I also want to thank the local media for doing their part in sharing our presentations with those who are not here tonight. I am Gail LeBrecq, and I'm asking for your vote on Election Day. My husband Leo and I have lived in Goffstown since 2001. We moved here from Merrimack. We have 6 adult children and 8 grandchildren. I have been self-employed as a licensed child care provider for 16 years, working out of my home. And I've also been a recording secretary for 4 of the town's boards, the Planning Board, CIP, Conservation Commission, and ZBA. And each of those have helped me keep informed for my work on the ZBA. I've been a ZBA member since 2006. I've also been a CIP member for the last couple of years as well. I'm running again for re-election to the ZBA to continue to do my best, to do my part, and hopefully make a difference that benefits both the residents and our town as a whole. I want to give back to the community that what it gives to me and the community that I've come to love. It's a wonderful town where people have such a great sense of community that it would be a shame to see it lost. And especially in time as we grow in number of residences and hopefully businesses as well. My involvement in town boards began as an abutter shortly after we moved to Goffstown, when I became involved in an application that would have had serious implications for my own neighborhood and our town as well. While being vocal, I was encouraged, or probably more aptly challenged, to put my money where my mouth is, so to speak. And they told me that I should try going out for the, being on one of the boards. So I took their suggestions seriously, and it was a humbling experience. I've learned that there's much more to it than running on emotion and preferences. There's more than just having an opinion of how things should be. Some things we do need tweaking or even changing, but there's a process, and there are laws that we have to follow as we carry out our responsibilities to enforce those zoning ordinances. These zoning ordinances are designed and adopted by the town to protect the applicants and their abutters and the town. So if reelected, I would be honored to do just that to the best of my ability. So I'm asking you to vote for me, Gail Lebrecht, for ZBA come election day. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Lastly, for the contested 3 years vote for 2 is Tim Redmond. Tim Redmond.
Thank you, Fred.
Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Larry Emerton and the Lions Club for hosting this event tonight. My name is Tim Redmond, and I'm seeking a 3-year seat on the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I'm a 16-year resident of Goffstown, and I live at 4 Stinson Road. I've been married 27 years and have 2 children who attended the Goffstown schools and have graduated from Goffstown High School. I'm currently the Public Works Director for the town of Ware. Most recently, I've been an elected member of the Goffstown Planning Board since 2006. I am currently the Planning Board Chairman. I am not seeking my re-election to the Planning Board this time around. While on the Planning Board, I served as the Planning Board member of the Capital Improvement Committee and have chaired the Capital Improvement Committee for the last 6 years. As member of the Planning Board, I've never been afraid to ask applicants tough questions. I've always tried to balance the rights of the applicants with the elected duty to protect the community and ensure proper application of the development regulations and the zoning ordinances in a fair and impartial manner. I'm running for the Zoning Board of Adjustment because I wish to continue serving Goffstown in a volunteer capacity. I believe that my experience on the Planning Board would assist me if I am elected to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. I would listen to all applicants' testimony, review all required documentation, listen to other elected members of the ZBA, and make an informed decision based on our zoning regulations and the information supplied by the applicant. I would give any applicant an opportunity to make their case and show them the respect they deserve when addressing the ZBA with a request for relief from the zoning regulations. And I ask for your vote when we get Election Day on March the 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. One thing I want to thank Tim for is when he said he chaired the CIP for 6 years. I had been chairing it, so he relieved me of that duty, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Fred.
Moving on, let me finish the zoning board before going back. There's one uncontested race zoning board. Lynn Stewart, are you here? Yes, Lynn.
Thank you very much to the Lions Club for hosting this event tonight. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Lynn Stewart. I live on Worthley Hill Road. We've been residents of the town since 1990 when I landed here for a newspaper job with the union leader. Changed a lot since then. I've been married to my wife Sue for coming up on 37 years this year. We have 2 adult children, both of whom are graduates of the Goffstown school system. I've been a newspaper man ever since I graduated Syracuse University sometime back before the dawn of time, which I'm not going to admit when. Basically, Gail Lebrecht hit it very much on the head because I think we came to the same point from pretty much the same thing. There was a very nasty planning board fight in the mid-90s in which myself, Gail, Barbara Griffin, we were all very heavily involved in that. And it's very easy to sit out in the audience and throw brickbats and be driven by emotion. But when it came time to put my money where my mouth was, I decided that I had to give something back to the town by serving on some kind of a board in some kind of a capacity. Wasn't able to do it for some years, but I over the last 5 or 6 years, I have been on and off the zoning board of appeals. I served one previous elected term. I served a couple of terms as alternate. When I decided to go with the open terms this year, I decided to seek the one-year term to be able to fully participate in the discussions. I don't have much more to say. I think in the terms that I have been on the zoning board of appeals, it has been a good, fair board. There is no one on the board that seems to have a vested interest and we have worked very hard to apply both common sense and the law uniformly to making the decisions on some of the sometimes very thorny neighbor versus neighbor cases that you end up hearing at the zoning board. And I think we've striven to be fair in all the decisions. I would just like to continue my work on the board. So even though I'm unopposed, please vote for me anyway on March 12th. Thank you.
You mentioned neighbor versus neighbor, right? You moved onto Wallace Road, and Larry and Elaine Edmonton were my neighbors. Then they got up and moved, just as I moved in. Wonder if they were telling me something.
What else we got to do?
Okay, going back down through the races that we skipped, if I can do this without screwing myself up. Budget Committee, Liz Mitchell.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start off by thanking the Lions Club for organizing this event and allowing the town to see all the candidates. And I also want to thank Goffstown High School for hosting this event here. I also want to apologize ahead of time. I'm suffering from strep. I'm not contagious, but if I have to leave early, I really do apologize. So again, my name is Elizabeth Mitchell. I've been a Goffstown resident for 6 years and a New Hampshire native for 20. I live on the Piscataqua River with my fiance, and I am a family nurse practitioner. I work in Manchester at Dartmouth Hitchcock Clinic. I have a master's degree in nursing, and with that degree came advanced classes in calculus and statistics, so I know a little bit about finance. When I'm not working, you can find me running or snowshoeing on the rail trail, hiking up the Uncanunics, or trying to bring more economy and investment into Goffstown by patronizing the local trestle or any place in Pinardville. So that's a little bit about me. The reason I'm interested in becoming part of the Budget Committee is because what was mentioned before by Larry was your civic duty and giving your civic duty to the town. At this point in my life, I feel comfortable enough to step forward and volunteer my time to the town that I have loved and lived in for these 6 years. I've considered a couple of other positions, but I feel like the Budget Committee, you really can help to give and bring some change for the future of the town. Although I'm not yet a mother, I feel that it's vitally important to ensure that our schools have the funds they need to deliver quality education to our children. The children of Goffstown deserve no less than the best chance to make the most of their lives. And it's our duty as a community, as a family, as parents to ensure that. It's also essential that we continue to fund our infrastructure projects. I know that we've all breathed a big sigh of relief that the Mast Road project is almost over, but it's just as important to keep the funds rolling for other small projects around town, not only for our infrastructure, but for our economy and for our businesses, so the town is continuing to be a good place for small businesses to come and settle. But in order to be fair to our seniors and to our hardworking families, we should try to make an effort to keep our property taxes affordable and analyze carefully where our town money is needed. And so if I'm elected to the Budget Committee, I will try to make our budget fair, affordable, and sustainable for our town. Thank you so much again. My name is Liz Mitchell, and I hope I have your vote March 12th.
Next is Shea Sennett. Shea Sennett and I share one thing. We both went to St. Paul's School Advanced Studies program, but I was about 50 years ago. He was recent.
First, I really want to thank the Lions Club for having us out here tonight. I feel like I'm coming full circle a little bit because many of you probably saw me at the craft fair working the cash register, taking your money. I really hope the Lions Club is really proud because I've really grown up learning a lot from working with you guys over the years. I moved back to Goffstown just this past fall. I've been a lifelong resident of Goffstown, really, forever. I graduated from Goffstown High. I went to Holy Cross in Worcester, Mass, and after that I decided to teach for a couple of years in Hartford, Connecticut through Teach for America, which is just a program where you get to go teach in low-income schools. That was really important for me to do. Currently, I'm up at the UNH School of Law in Concord, so I commute up there every day. And the first thing that I did that was really smart for Budget Committee is I live at home, so I save lots of money, so I'm pretty smart with that. Right now, I'm just trying to get back, I'm trying to get involved with the community again. I lead a youth group at St. Matt's. I'm getting involved with the youth forum here at the high school. I'm going to get involved with Crispin's House as best I can. I really enjoy working with the youth of our community. I think they're vital to our future, and I think it's important for us to show them our support. And why I really want to run for the Budget Committee, I mean, it's pretty simple. I love Goffstown. Even when I was in college and when I was teaching my students, you could see them. I would tell them, oh man, I love New Hampshire. I love Goffstown. I love being there. I show them pictures of me coming back hiking. I love, like Liz was saying, I love snowshoeing up Mount Canunek. I ride my bike all over the place. This is really where I want to be. This is my home. I really want to make sure that we make smart choices in the long run that help us grow as a town. It's not always easy sometimes for some of the choices that the Budget Committee has to make because they have to balance the short-term interests of, okay, what's going to make sense for the taxpayer, but what's going to make sense and what's going to save the taxpayers money in the long run. And if I'm elected to the Budget Committee, which hopefully I am, I hope I can be part of that process, and I hope we take those things into consideration and we do the right thing for the Goffstown taxpayers and for the youth of Goffstown who don't have a say in this, but to make sure that they're really heard as well. So that's why I run for Budget Committee, and hopefully you vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Shay. Joe Spurl. Did I mispronounce that name?
No, that's fine.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the Goffstown Lions Club for hosting this and to all of you for coming. My name is Joe Spurl. My wife and I moved to Goffstown in 1991. I'm from Wisconsin originally, in case you're wondering about the accent, not a New England accent. I have degrees from Boston University and the University of Toronto, and I'm on the faculty at St. Anselm College in the philosophy department. Politically, I see myself as a pragmatist, middle of the roader, an independent, neither a Democrat nor a Republican. I prefer to take things on an issue-by-issue basis and on a candidate-by-candidate basis. I just finished my first year on the Budget Committee, and I'm running for re-election to a 3-year term now. I decided to run a year ago because I felt that I owed my community more by way of service and volunteering. And priorities for me are investing in and maintaining infrastructure in our town. I've been a supporter of the road reclamation program ever since it began in 2002. A couple people have referred to that. I have also supported much needed improvements to our elementary schools and a new roof for our middle school in my past year on the Budget Committee. So, and I realize all of this has to be balanced against keeping the tax rate to a manageable level. So those are some of my priorities, and that's where I stand, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Say you're in the philosophy department. If nobody shows up to a Budget Committee, is it really there? Is that a philosophical question? I don't think Adrian Sonny Tremblay is here, but I'll have to ask. Okay. Next, I don't think Gene Walker for cemetery trustee is here either. I have to say that's a very important job, cemetery trustee. They have a lot of people under them. Library trustee, I don't think is here. Sarah Lewolczko, is she here?
Did you miss Adrian Tremblay?
I may have. Adrian Tremblay. Are you here? See, he wasn't checked off. I didn't think I had. And library trustee I just asked for, Jennifer Phillips, are you here?
I am.
Okay.
I knew Sarah would. Good evening. I too want to thank the Lions Club, but I'm going to break the mold a little bit and say that I have not been a lifelong resident of Goffstown. I'm a fairly new resident. Moved to New Hampshire in 2006 and moved to Goffstown in 2008. And one of the first things I did as a resident was haul 4 boxes of books over to the library to donate for their library sale. Very shortly after that, I got my library card, and I believe I've probably been there weekly ever since. I am a member of the Blank Page Writers Group at the library. With their help, I have published 2 pieces of fiction. I'm also a member of a book club and a member of their new cooking book club. So to say that the library is important to me is probably kind of an understatement. I'm also a very avid reader, and I think another important thing to note there is that they help my personal family budget because I'm not buying all of those books that I read quickly. This library, I don't know how many of you frequent it, but it is a real gem. I've lived all over the country, and I have to say that this one is one of the most remarkable, both for its activity and its personnel. The staff there is amazing. I think that libraries give us the best that democracy has to offer. The notion that knowledge should be available to all is both remarkable and important. And I think that it's time for me to give a little bit back to the library that's given me so much. And that's why I'm running for library trustee. And I would be honored to serve.
Thank you. The last position I think I hadn't covered, I'm not sure she's here. Catherine Hooten, you here? Okay, I think I've covered all the positions. I wanted to say, before I go on, first I'd like to recognize the Lions in the room. Would you please all stand up? And for those of you who are now not standing, why aren't you Lions? We have applications, and it's a wonderful organization. We raise a lot of money and spend it on the community, helping people. Some ways you don't hear. We provide hearing aids and cataract surgeries and eyeglasses for the poor. Besides that, we do it for the indigent. And we also, at the Lions Field, and several other good things, Lions Sight and Hearing, Lions Clubs International Foundation. And they haven't kicked me out yet. It's been 35 years. They haven't kicked me out. But welcome to you to become Lions. It's a wonderful organization, men and women. We do not segregate based on sex. And one of the first women, the first woman we had was Elaine Edmonton, and I signed her. So it's many years ago now. Time for question and answer. And as I do when I'm moderator at town meeting, ask the most incisive questions you can. We welcome it, but no character assassination, no personal attacks, and no questioning of motives. People, that's the only ground rule. Fire away. Who's got a question of whom? Boy, don't all jump at once. Okay, Steve?
I have a question for the school board candidates. First, I'd like to know where you stand on the bond issues coming up to add the department and Nadeau, I guess, and also how you feel about the process going on with the review of the middle school.
Okay, the question was the bond issues and the review with the middle school. The 2 issues you want them addressed. Okay, anybody on the school, running for school board who wants to address those? Come on up. Okay, what? Yes, Diane, you want to address it? Come on. Sure, people can see you, and I know Ben wants to as well.
Okay, if I'm clear, your first question is about how we feel about the bond issue as it pertains to construction at Maple Avenue and Bartlett. I support the bond issue. I think it's a very, I said before, it's such a difficult balance to balance the costs of running the district and keeping costs down and cost savings. I was on the Elementary Facilities Review Committee in its second phase when we worked on the plans for it. And essentially what we have overcrowding in both of our elementary schools. There are a lot of repairs that need to be done. We have 2 classes in portables at Maple. We have a portable also in Bartlett that houses the library and it houses some additional offices such as guidance. That has been ongoing for 12 years. We've had the portables. They are getting to a point where they need to be replaced. Our population is not going down. There are concerns for safety and concerns for environment as it pertains to learning. I had shared this at another meeting that I was at. One of my aha moments came about 6 years ago as with the portables. Up until that time, I was like, oh, well, you know, it's portables, and that's too bad. It's not the best, but that's what we can afford, and that's what we need to do. And then I sat in the pickup line waiting to pick up my son, who was not in a portable, and it was one of these days that it was dumping out, and nobody wanted to go out. And I happened to be there for about 20 minutes because the line was long and it hadn't started. And I was watching the children from the portables going back and forth to, are you going to shut me down?
I want to give you an opportunity to address the second part of the question.
Okay.
And then
So it was just, it really hit me. Like, I don't work in an environment where I need to leave the building to go use the bathroom, which these children do. There's no plumbing in there. And I don't work in an area where I need to walk out to go elsewhere. And this is what these kids do every day.
Okay.
And okay,
Second part of the question.
second part of the question
What was
was
the review of the administration at the middle school?
the Mountain View study. That is something that I voted in favor of at the time when it came before the board. It was, there is no question that we needed to move in some capacity. And it was my feeling that in so doing something as comprehensive as this, it was an effective way of doing it without muddying the waters with a sense of bias. There's so much, I hate to say it, but there's so much toxicity as it pertains to this subject, and it needed to be addressed as cleanly and as concisely and as comprehensively as possible. And while I regret that it cost any money at all, that is the reality, and it is my feeling that our town will benefit and we will benefit moving forward with your help.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I should have said for questions and answers, there's no hard and fast time limit, but try to keep it to 2 minutes, and I'll push people along if I see it going. Ben?
Yeah, thank you. The question on the bond, yes, the school. I've been involved in the first renovation of Bartlett and Maple Avenue back in 1990 when we built, when we built the Mountain View Middle School. And bond issues are important, but you don't need to have 2 at the same time. 1 at a time would work. And to deal with the problem of the portables and the overcrowding, why not contact the Manchester School of Technology and have the students there build a portable? It's a lot cheaper. We did this in Sanford, Maine. We built our own portables at a very greatly reduced cost. There are other options rather than going out and bonding this whole program and this whole situation. No, I am not in favor of the bond. I am in favor of renovations, but 1 step at a time, not a $14 million bond issue on top of a $37 million budget. That is totally unacceptable, and I'm definitely going to be voting against that. Your question on the Mountain View study. Some of you may know, I offered my services for no cost to the school department. My team has over 80 years of experience in middle school. I have a fellow professor who had 40 years in Massachusetts. He has no ties here. I have a person who could conduct studies from the college, has no ties here. We could have done this study. The study needs to be done, yes, and it should have been done by the superintendent. That is the superintendent's job, not a committee. That's what we pay the superintendent for. Thank you.
Thank you. I can say that, yes.
I will keep mine short and sweet. In regards to the bond issue, I do support the bond issue for many of the same reasons that Diane brought forward. In regard to the Mountain View Middle School, I have not been involved with the school, so I can't speak to what was going on. So until the situation was presented, I don't have anything to add to that. However, I think it's really, it seems to be a situation that needed to be resolved professionally and objectively, and I trust the judgment of those that made the decision to move forward. So with my children going into the middle school, I think we've got a great school system, and this problem clearly needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Retta. General applause is welcome. I would ask people to refrain from booing, hissing, cheering at any one point. We may have differing views on things, and I really appreciate that you haven't booed me off the stage. It's really great. Thank you. That's what you're about to, I know.
There's still time, Fred.
Pardon? Any other questions? Yes, Tim?
If we could stay on with the school board one more minute.
Sure.
This is the second bite at the apple for this large bond issue.
Yes.
It failed last year at the polls. There is no state aid available. The taxpayers will bear the entire brunt of the bond issue. I'd like to know if any of the candidates have any options to go to in the upcoming year should the bond fail the second time.
Okay. Question is, what happens if the bond fails? What's the option? How would you address it? Any of the school board members want to elect, candidates want to elect that, tackle that? Diane? Sure.
The only way we would be able to handle it, it's a status quo. I mean, it would be, we would need to purchase new portables to, they are falling into disrepair. We did have them in the budget, one of the earlier versions, and they were removed this year. So there really would not be any change. There's not a change to our population. We can't cram any more in to omit the need for the portables at all. We actually at one point had looked at buying additional portables just to house the students. So they're really, we need to do some renovations at some point. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Any other candidates want to address it? Leah, let me finish this one, then I'll recognize you. Any other candidate want to address that question? Seeing not, okay. Leah, you had a question.
I did.
Speak up.
It's for the school, it's about the bond again.
Okay.
We know that there's at least one school that there may be less students coming to the high school here very soon. And I'm curious if the school board looked at the idea of moving some kids from the middle school to here to free up space that would then you could shift and shift and shift. One of the big things that's really hot in education is called a school within a school. And when you look at these massive school systems that have so many kids, and people just get lost, and the way they try to deal with it is they segregate kids into smaller little subpopulations in the school. Could that be done here at this facility to free up space down below? Is it a possibility to deal with the space issue that way?
The question is, if Dunbarton does not renew the space here, and is there ways to use this space to relieve the pressure of the
Yeah, like we could just like move 8th grade to a separate area in this school, and they're segregated, they're a school within a school. Is that not possible?
Well, what we have for population counts with Dunbarton and Mountain View Middle School, they total about 46 students. At the high school, they total about 120, if memory serves. I'm shooting from my memory, but it's about 120. Our 8th grade is not 120 students. We are going to be splitting a grade at some point, and that is simply not an efficient and cost-effective way to educate anybody.
Any of the other school board candidates wish to tackle the answer? Seeing none, any other questions? Oh, yes, Glenn.
This is one for Mr. Nadeau, the planning board candidate. While I don't disagree with anything that Mr. Nadeau had to say about the need for a sustainable budget, a sustainable tax rate, attracting more industry and commercial base to town, how is he going to achieve that on the planning board, which is primarily something for site plan reviews, other things? I was a bit confused by his presentation because I don't see that that's a board that affects that type of policy. So if you could respond to that, I'd
The question
appreciate
is the
it.
unaffordability and how would a planning board tackle it?
Yeah, I mean, what can you do on the planning board that will affect that?
Mr. Nadeau, would you like to answer it?
That's a great question, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure. I've never run for public office before. I've never held public office. I'm definitely not misguided into thinking I'm going to try to get into a planning board office and push through an agenda or anything like that. Simply stating that if there were options brought before the planning board by a business that would like to go into an area, then I would support that in them trying to come through. And I just think as an overall plan for the town, with a very limited space we have, like look, you know, right behind Rite Aid, townhouses went in there. Residential homes cost more money than they actually bring into the town. So what should have gone on behind there should have been some sort of small commercial units that could have added to the tax base versus residential units that take away from the tax base, and townhouses could have gone someplace else. That's just my position.
Okay. Any other questions? Going once? Going twice? I want to thank you all very much for coming to the Candidates Night of the Lions Club. Hopefully you've seen the people in person. It will help you when you go to the polls on March 12th and vote. Please go to the polls on March 12th and vote. Good evening.
Well, good to see you,
How are you, Chief? Good. Loving your job still? How many more years? You're down to days. Is he? I don't know hardly anybody on the force anymore. They're all doing it. Oh yeah. It really is. The last couple of years we talked to their average time on the force. Yeah, you're on retirement. I've got a bill right now that by July 1st if I don't retire, I lose 4%. Wow, so you're looking. Yeah, it's not a no-brainer. Or just leave. Yeah. And I'll find something. So are your number to stay, do you think? You got no choice. Depends on how that goes. Yeah. Yeah. That's what they do. I have no experience of it. Yeah. No question. It's not what you thought it would be, is it? No. It's much easier looking up. Oh, yeah, I had it all figured out. Oh, yeah.
Johnny.
How are you?
Do you have to attend, or were you just here to keep the peace? Was that here in an official capacity or an unofficial capacity?
Just unofficial. Cool. Watching and listening.
I figured maybe you had to bring your
I've yet to miss one. So. Everybody knows. She told me to go.
Thanks.